It is the 15th of April here in the year 2012, and it was back on May 3rd in 2006 that I went out and about to the great town of Gravelbourg to do a story. I met some great people that day, some that I still keep in touch with, both through email and on Facebook. But it was while preparing to leave Gravelbourg that I met a man named Mitch, who told me to call him M'Nonc, French for my uncle. I had only stopped into a gas station to get a pop for the road, and the next thing I knew, somehow I'm sitting with this guy in his van just talking about life, talking about work, about CBC, and about other things. So let's go back to that day. I want you to hear a piece of this conversation that I had with M'Nonc. Every small town, every community has its own secrets, its own stories. When you come into Gravelbourg, you hear about a gentleman whose name is M'Nonc, or Uncle Mitch. Mitch, why are you Uncle Mitch?
Because I've got about 17 nieces and nephews, and it kind of just stuck. Where when you talk to M'Nonc, you talk to Uncle, and Uncles kind of help people out, and they're supposed to be there for you. So no kids of my own, so I kind of like the title, to tell you the truth.
How long have you lived in Gravelbourg?
All my life. Moved away, came back, moved away, and now I've been here for about 19 months now, since last September, I guess.
You've left before and you've come back. Do you see yourself staying here now? Is it for you?
I'll probably stick around for a while, and like the littlest hobo, if the phone rings, I'll go do my uncle thing someplace else, but it'll always be home, and I hope to be probably buried here. And even though it's not our farm 6 miles west anymore, it's always home, and I've always had like a very special place in my heart for Gravelbourg. And I think that wherever you travel, you'll meet somebody that knows somebody that went to college, or there's just something about Gravelbourg that people, it's known, you know.
Well, I hope you don't mind you've added another nephew to your stable, Uncle Mitch.
Sure, sounds good there, little Dan.
There you go. That was M'Nonc, Uncle Mitch, Michel Amon. Sadly, that guy with such a great personality passed away in November of 2010 at the age of 42. The man with a huge heart had a heart attack. And now Mitch's actual nephew, I'm just an honorary one, Dominique Liberon, is planning to do something to honor M'Nonc's life and to raise awareness about heart disease. Dom is going to canoe from Saskatchewan to New Orleans, starting in East End, and maybe you can help him out. He's here with me this morning for a conversation. Dom, I still don't know how I ended up in that van with your uncle.
Well, that's just part of my uncle's magic.
What were you thinking as you were hearing his voice again there?
Well, it was really nice to hear his voice again, and I actually laughed out loud when I heard his littlest hobo comment, because that was my favorite show growing up. And true story, I used to cry at the end of every episode because I was worried he'd never come back again. So it brought back a lot of nice memories to hear my uncle's voice. Where
did this idea come from for you to get in a canoe and go from Saskatchewan down to New Orleans? Why are you doing this for your uncle?
Well, the idea initially came from avoiding doing homework. When I was in high school, I was looking at an atlas of the United States, and I realized that the creeks in southern Saskatchewan flow into the United States, and then eventually that water ends up in New Orleans. And it was a trip that I always had in the back of my mind. And then when my uncle passed away, that was kind of like the catalyst that pushed me to do this, because I wanted to honor his life, and I wanted to raise awareness about heart disease.
So can you actually go along the waterways, or will you have to portage at one point or another?
There's a few dams and spillways along the way, but there aren't any major portages. Theoretically, if you drop, say, like a leaf or a bottle in the water in southern Saskatchewan, it will eventually end up in the Gulf of Mexico.
So as you're getting ready, what stage of this trip are you at now?
Well, right now I have my website up and running. It's canoetoneworleans.com, and there's also a Facebook page with the same name. And so now that that's done, I'm focusing on my partnership proposal. I'm going to finish that up this weekend and then start talking to businesses, companies, and organizations and see if they would like to partner with me. And then once that's done, I'll be working on some more media outreach and getting the word out there about this trip.
Well, yeah, because this trip, it can't be cheap. This is going to be something that's going to cost some money. You'll need to eat. You might need some extra supplies. You probably need a good boat. Can regular folks help you out along the way?
Absolutely. If people are interested in donating to this project, I would invite them to check out my website. It's canoetoneworleans.com. and they can donate right online, either through PayPal or with a credit card. And like you say, it's not a cheap trip. Like my food budget alone is just under $3,000, and including some of the equipment that I'll need, such as a canoe and a GPS that will allow me to update my Facebook status so people can follow the journey. And it also has a 911 emergency feature built into it. So there's another couple $1,000s right there, plus other expenses along the way. So anyone who is interested in supporting it will definitely be appreciated and put to good use. And let's not forget either that heart disease is the number one killer of women in Canada. It's the number two killer of men. And so we all know someone that's been affected by heart disease. And so this is something that touches all of us.
Yeah, you said you want to also raise awareness about heart disease. M'Nonc Mitch was one of those guys that he made some choices in life that perhaps caused him to leave this earth earlier than his 42 years should have allowed him to. So can you potentially help save lives by letting more people know about this?
Absolutely. And like you say, my uncle did make some lifestyle choices that really weren't the best for his heart. He smoked a lot. He drank a lot. In the morning, I've been there and seen him drink 5 cups of espresso, one after another, and smoke half a dozen cigarettes.
In the morning?
In the morning, and that's just like, to get out of the house and get to work. And I remember one morning I thought, okay, well, I'm going to keep up with you. Well, I was basically vibrating for the rest of the day. I had so much caffeine going through me. And my uncle did that every morning for years, so you can imagine how hard that was on a person's heart. And, being close to him and seeing the way that he was living, I knew that he wouldn't live to be an old man. Like, if he would have made even 70, I would have been really surprised. But still, it would have been awesome for, not just for myself, but for everyone who knew him, to have shared at least another 20 years with him. And so, the main core of my message is that if you have symptoms or signs of heart problems, don't ignore them. And unfortunately, that's a mistake that my uncle made. He, leading up to his heart attack, he had passed out twice, and for whatever reason, didn't want to see the doctor about it, or maybe didn't take it as seriously as he should have. And he didn't get a third chance. And I've been talking with public health nurses about this, and they've told me that it's very surprising how often people will say things to her like, I don't have to take the health of my heart too seriously. If I have a heart attack, I'll just get a stent put in. It's not a big deal. Well, it is a big deal because you're gambling with your life, and the consequence is that you might leave behind people who are going to miss you the rest of their lives.
Your trip sounds like it has an exceptionally serious message to it. It does have that serious message to it. Is any part of this going to be good times for you?
Well, absolutely. Planning it has actually been a lot of fun, and it's been a great way to meet people and to work on a project that's about positivity. You're right. It is a serious message, and I think it's a message that we need to take seriously. But on the other hand, that doesn't mean that you can't have a good time while preparing for it. And I'm sure during the trip there's going to be a lot of really positive moments, but always with a little twinge, I think, of sadness, because it would have been so much better if my uncle could have been around to share, maybe even just a week of it, or just to know that, someone was doing something for him because he had touched their life.
I can imagine a canoe trip with him, even if it was just for a couple of hours, would have been a heck of a good time.
Oh, you bet. Lots of laughs and lots of insight. And there was just something about Mitch. He had like an energy or a magic, and I think anyone that ever met him picked up on it and felt it. And, part of that magic was his sincere interest in people, and it was his charisma, and it was his charm. And, it's hard to find people like that. There aren't a lot of people like Uncle Mitch out there, and so when you do come across them, they're really special, and they hold a really special place in your heart. So it's sad when they go, and that's another reason I wanted to do this trip, is to cheat death, or to turn death into a creative force, because I didn't want my uncle's life to just end with him having a heart attack. I wanted it to promote something positive and to be a force of good and creativity.
Dominic Liberon is going to be paddling, starting in East End, going all the way down to New Orleans in memory of his Uncle Mitch, our M'Nonc here in Saskatchewan. CanoetoNewOrleans.com is the website. Dom, I'm going to jump on after the show and put a donation on there myself, and anybody else who wants to sponsor you as well, you can do it on there, CanoetoNewOrleans.com. Do you mind if we catch up with you over the course of the next few months to see how things are going and to follow your path?
No, absolutely not. I look forward to it, and thank you for your donation. That's very much appreciated.
You're very welcome. We will be in touch, and good luck, and let's keep Uncle Mitch's spirit alive, shall we?
Absolutely. Thank you for your interest in this.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.